Hello and welcome everyone again to another video, and in today's video I will be talking about the best Pokemons in 2023. My name is Yasser Ali. I'm a Twitch streamer. We stream on Twitch technically Monday, Friday and during the weekend. And today I will be talking about the Pokemons I used the most in Raid and in PvP. Okay, so most of people, if you guys here for the PvP content, this is going to be like about stuff that I maxed out and what criteria do I use to max out and what are the Pokemons I ended up using the most from each typing. So the criteria, the Pokemon have to be used in two of the requirements at least. Best raid attacker, solid in Master League, solid in Great League, solid in Open Great League themed cups, solid in Ultra League. So for something to be just a hard-hitting Pokemon, I won't be maxing out. And as an example, Darkrai, it's good, it's the best dark attacker, but it's bad in Master League, so that's not enough for me to take this Pokemon to level 50. Yveltal is not the best raid attacker, it's a solid dark raid attacker. It's solid in Master League, so that's two reasons for me to build this Pokemon. So these are like the main concerns. So in this video, you will see all the Pokemons that technically any PvPer and slash any raid, let's say, what do you call it? You call it like wise power-ups, stuff that you should be powering up, like, because as I said, one criteria is not enough for me to take a Pokemon to level 50 because it's just so expensive. Like I'm talking about 60 raids. That's lots of raids to do just to max one Pokemon out. If you have the resources, just go for it. But not everyone has the resources. So that's why we put more criteria into building a Pokemon. And here we're talking about the Psychic Cup, and there is no better Pokemon in Psychic category than a Mewtwo. Why Mewtwo? Mewtwo is technically the best raid attacker for Psychic. Okay, but we're talking about PvP. Mewtwo is the most versatile Pokemon. Okay. Let's say in raids, if there is a water attacker, you can just use a Mewtwo Thunderbolt and you will get one of the hardest electric hitters. If you are raiding against Rayquaza, you can use a Mewtwo with Ice Beam and you will get one of the hardest ice attackers. If you're raiding against Giratinas, you can use a Mewtwo with Shadow Ball and you will get the hardest hitting Shadow Ball user. Okay, that is now Mega Gengar, but technically that's it. And that's not the only Pokemon I took to level 50. I actually took 3 more Pokemons. Technically, okay, I didn't take Cresselia to level 50, but I took Lugia to level 50. Lugia has some niche use in the... I use technically Lugia in Virizion Raid, so that's a use. And the second use, Lugia is one of the best safe swaps in the Master League. Cresselia is solid in Ultra League, is solid in Great League. It's actually one of the best Great League Pokemons right now and one of the best Ultra League Pokemons as well. Similarly goes the Deoxys Defense. It's one of the best Pokemons in the Great League and it's a solid Pokemon in the Ultra League. A Mewtwo can be used in every single league. So I took my Mewtwo to level 40 and I have a Great League 1 because I have to. Technically, I purchased the Kanto ticket, so technically we have to. So that is a solid reason to build any of these 4 Pokemons. I didn't build a level 50 crest, but here we're talking about Pokemons I used the most, and that's why I call it the best Pokemons in 2023, because this Pokemon, I've used it more than I could count, okay? And now moving into the ground category. The ground category, there is no other Pokemon better than Groudon. Why? It's the hardest hitting ground Pokemon. 1, 2. There is a primal version of it. 3. If you have a hundo, there is no better investment than primal Groudon for raids. And Master League Groudon is probably... If you watch my videos, you would know how much content we made about Groudon. Just the sweeping teams. I think I have like 2 or 3 shots where Groudon literally was able to KO 3 Pokemons. Not just one. An entire team was nuked by a single Groudon. This Pokemon is just a freaking beast. Now moving into the PvP category. Gligar and Gliscor. I have them in the same category because Gliscor can be used in Great League. It's not as ideal, as good as Gligar. Okay, Gliscor is not as good and ideal as Gligar in Great League, but it's solid in Ultra League. One of the best lead Pokemons you could lead because technically nothing hard beat it. Maybe Greninja now, but before the Greninja, nothing can hard beat Gliscor. And Gligar in the Great League is one of the best Pokemons last season and this season as well, and the season before and the upcoming seasons, because this Pokemon has what it requires for the Pokemon to be good, which is good stats, good coverage, good charge moves. And we cannot move without talking about Swampert and Whiscash. Swampert used to be the most dominant Mud Boy. Usually you say it whenever there is a ground water Pokemon, but Whiscash now outscaled or like power crept Swampert or power creep Swampert due to the fact that EQ was nerfed and they gave Whiscash a buff to Mud Bomb, and then they gave it Scald, and then they buffed the Scald. So technically 3 buffs. So those are the Pokemons I used the most in the ground category. Now moving into the water types. Okay, we cannot talk about water types without mentioning Kyogre, the best water attacker, especially now that it has a primal version. The primal version goes to up to 6500 CP or something. I watched a Home Slice Henry video about primal Kyogre in Master League, because there was like a day where they allowed Megas in PvP, and then there was a bug, so they had to remove them from PvP. And I saw this Pokemon literally destroying dragons, the dragons that are supposed to resist water damage, and Kyogre would just sweep the primal Kyogre. So this is for raid-wise. I have level 50 Kyogre. It's not even a hundo. That's how good this Pokemon is. And now if we're talking about PvP, we cannot move without mentioning how dominant of a Pokemon Poliwrath in PvE, in PvP right now. It's the best Pokemon in Great League. It's the best Pokemon in Ultra League. So they gave it 4 buffs. They buffed Counter. They buffed the Scald. And then they gave it Counter. They gave it Scald. Then they buffed the Scald, and they gave it Icy Wind. Then they nerfed Medicham, which made it the best counter user in the entire Great League meta. Azu has been the most dominant Pokemon in the Great League, literally meta, before even PvP started, like before even GBL started. Okay. It's been meta since PvP started. Lantern has been the most dominant water type in the last 4 seasons, and now it's actually even usable in the Ultra League format, even though it doesn't even scale up to 2350 CP, just because everyone is running a Poliwrath, and nothing beats Poliwrath more than Lantern. So like literally Lantern Ultra League, people are just maxing it out to beat 2 Pokemons. This thing, Greninja, Charizard. That's a 3, yes sir. Yeah, I said 2 Pokemons. Now moving into the Dragon type. Dragon type is like the most stacked type in the entire game, because people love dragons, and dragons has the most dominant fast move in the game, which is Dragon Breath and Dragon Tail. That's not the one, yes, that's 2. Yeah, that's 2. Dragon, technically, they don't have a bad charge move. Well, there is Dragon Pulse. Dragon Pulse is a bad charge move. Dragon Claw is average. Breaking Swipe is a decent one. Outrage is decent. Draco Meteor is so good. And what makes the dragons even better is that they do have a sky-high attack, which make them hit everything pretty hard, except for the fairy types. Like dragons can beat stuff even if dragon damage is resisted, as long as they don't take super effective. Like as an example, Dragonite into Mamoswine is not even that bad of a matchup. Like, even though Mamoswine does 2x times super effective damage, and Dragon Breath is a neutral, but Dragonite can beat Mamoswine. It used to be a bad matchup actually for Mamoswine until I think they buffed Powder Snow. So what are the best dragon types that I maxed out and used the most? Okay, the most dominant dragon in the entire game and must build for everyone is Dialga. It doesn't have the best charge move, but it has the best typing for the dragon. It has dragon, steel subtyping, and the steel subtyping gives it an insane resistances / coverage, because Dialga is the only dragon that can beat fairies. Dialga is the dragon that beats all other dragons. Dialga is the dragon that you need to take to level 51 for PvP, because at level 51 you get to do 1 more damage on Dragon Breath against most of the dragons, which make it an insane bad of a matchup, like insanely bad of a matchup to other dragons. Another insane dragon is Giratina Altered, which Giratina Altered has been the most dominant Pokemon in the Ultra League, literally top 3 on PvPoke in every single Ultra League rotation ever since this Pokemon was introduced. It's also extremely decent in Master League as well, because this Pokemon has an insane amount of bulk. I call this Pokemon a legendary version of Snorlax. You know how bulky Snorlax is? This is a legendary version of Snorlax. And we cannot move in this video without talking about the Dragonite. If you guys watch my videos, if you guys watch my channel, you would know how much I love this Pokemon. I use this Pokemon in Great League. I use this Pokemon in Ultra League. And I'm going to be using this Pokemon. Okay, I use this Pokemon also in Master League Classic. But hopefully this year I will be using it in Master League Open as well. So if you max those 3 dragons, there is literally no other dragon that you would need. My favorite Pokemon in the entire game is Garchomp. I didn't put it here. It used to be my third option, my third go-to option here. But Dragonite is just better, to be honest. Palkia is... The problem with Palkia is just so frail. I would rather use the Dragonite over the Palkia. Dragonite literally is just way better than Palkia. That's like how good this Pokemon is. And we cannot move to the other type without mentioning Zygarde, the complete form. It's now the most insane Pokemon in the Master League in the history of GBL. This Pokemon is just crazy good. Nobody has... I mean, there are few people who has it. It takes like 6 months of 2 hours daily grinding to get to this Pokemon, to build this Pokemon. And the issue is you only have one. So you might end up building a Trash IV for PvP. The second form is decent for raid. So if you are into raids, second form is good. If you are into PvP, third form is insane. Okay. Now let's move to talk about the fighters. And from now on, I'm only going to be mentioning 3 Pokemons, because like the first couple types I mentioned, because okay, like dragons, there are so many insane dragons. Ground is technically the best offensive typing. Psychic is a good typing because most of the psychic Pokemon has good charge move coverage, and water types is the second best defensive type after steel, I would say. Now the fighting type, there isn't that many good fighters. Someone might ask, where is Buzzwole, Yasser? I do not have Buzzwole maxed out, so it didn't make it to the list because I couldn't max out my Buzzwole yet, because I have a hundo, I have a 98 as well. I don't have XLs to build it, so this is based on the stuff I powered up. So let me know if you don't agree, by the way, because I'm interested to hear like what other criteria do you guys use to build the Pokemon. We talked about Poliwrath in the water typing, so I'm not going to talk about him in the fighting typing. Conkeldurr is probably the best fighter in the entire game, up to Buzzwole. Now Buzzwole is just straight better. We get a community day and they gave it brutal swing, but Buzzwole is just still better. This thing is actually bulkier, but Buzzwole benefits from the fact that it has a bug subtyping, so it gives it resistances against other fighters, where like you will be able to resist fighters, so fighting damage, which make it good matchup for the Buzzwole. So Buzzwole is the fighter that beats other fighters. Medicham has been the most dominant fighting type in the history of GBL PvP until last season, where they started nerfing Psychic. They nerfed it twice technically, to the point where now they just want people to use Poliwrath instead. But yeah, those 3 has been... I have 3 Medichams at 1500 CP. That's how good this Pokemon is. Literally, I bought up 3. One that's like the maximum rank, level 50. One is Lucky IV, and one with 10 attack. Now moving into the dark typing. In the dark typing, I didn't mention Umbreon because Umbreon has fallen off the Ultra League meta, even though I poured up 1 for Ultra and 2 for the Great League. One is shiny, one is non-shiny. But I haven't used Umbreon in a long time. So now Buzzwole? No, this is not Buzzwole. Gislord. Gislord is the most annoying Pokemon in Great League. And it's so annoying even in the Ultra League, which make enough arguments to power 2 versions of this Pokemon. One is for Great League, one for Ultra League. And I've seen Home Slice Henry making lots of videos about this Pokemon. I haven't used it that much, but I ended up powering up 1 for Great League, 1 for Ultra League, because this Pokemon is has like some chancy level HP. I think it has like 300 plus HP, like so bulky. It doesn't have high defense, which make it take lots of damage from charge moves, but still, at one point this Pokemon was being the best dragon to be used because it was the only dragon that could beat Shadow Charizard in the Ultra League, and now it's being used because just destroy all of these Licky teams, because Lickitung is the most common Pokemon in the Great League, and this thing just destroys everything about Licky. So it's the Dark type that beats other Dark types. It used to be Scrafty, but Scrafty doesn't exist anymore. And Yveltal being the most versatile, or the best option to build to level 50 for raids, because Darkrai, you're not going to use it in PvP, but Yveltal is way better in PvP, so this makes it why you should power up Yveltal over Darkrai. Sableye being the best safe swap in the history of the game. This Pokemon, beside Licky, has never been bad. There was a time where Lickitung fell off the meta during the Noctowl meta, but Sableye never fell off, always OP. So if you haven't built a purified, okay? If you haven't built a purified Sableye, I don't know what you're waiting for. Now, moving into the Ghost category. In the Ghost category, we will be talking about 3 Pokemons specifically. Giratina Origin being one of the best Master League Pokemons, slash one of the most solid raid attackers. Mega Gengar technically does way more damage, but Mega Gengar died to 2 fast moves, while like this thing can actually tank charge moves. Jellicent being the best safe swap in the Ultra League format, and has been one of the most dominant Ultra League Pokemons ever since this Pokemon was introduced to the game. They buffed it and gave it Surf, which made it even better. Now we started seeing Jellicent even in Great League, because Poliwrath is so dominant, and this Pokemon just wall everything about Poliwrath. You resist everything and you do neutral damage, and it has like decent bulk. Skilledridge, worth mentioning. I think usually, like, when starters is introduced to the game, they are just bad because we have to wait until they get the Community Day move. But Skilledridge did not care about that. Skilledridge now is actually an insane Pokemon. And last season, it was insane in the Ultra League because it was the only Pokemon in the entire game that could beat Steelix and Virizion together. And there was no hard counters to that core except for Skilledridge. Maybe people might say Poliwrath used to be fine, but Poliwrath wasn't as good. So Skilledridge is actually worth building. 1 for Great League, 1 for Ultra League, and 1 for Little Cup. Yeah, you need a level 6 1, by the way. Level 5 if it's a bad IV. So this Pokemon, I would build it. I built 1 for Great League, and I'm about to build 1 for Ultra League. It's worth the investment. Now, moving into the most annoying type, aka the most defensive type in the entire game, which is the Steel typing, okay? And the Steel typing is the problem with the thing about Steel typing. You don't have to have an insane charge move coverage, because all you need is some bulk, and you resist lots of stuff just for being a Steel type. So an average charge move would be good for you, and the biggest example for that is Registeel, the most dominant Pokemon and the Zero Shield scenario when it comes to Great League and Ultra League, the most annoying Pokemon to deal with as well. And Metagross being the hardest hitting Steel Pokemon. Some people might say Dialga, but Dialga does not use the Steel damage, to be honest. But Metagross is still the hardest hitting Steel Pokemon, and probably the best investment for a Steel Pokemon to be built, because it's just so good of a Pokemon. It's literally better than 90% of the legendaries in the entire game. So if you haven't built a Metagross, I don't know what you're waiting for. This Pokemon is better than 90% of the legendaries in the entire game. Excadrill being one of the best safe swaps in the Master League, and one of the best Pokemons whenever you want to use double Steel. So you have to use Excadrill to bait out the Steel counters. It's a solid raid attacker, but most of the damage is actually ground, so I don't know why I have it here instead of the ground category. A-Slash, Alolan Sandslash, is a dominant Pokemon in the Great League and in the Ultra League, which make enough argument to build 2 versions of this Pokemon as long as both are Shadow. You need the Shadow. I built an Unshadow Ultra League one, and I regret that actually. Now, moving into the normal typing. The normal typing is known for being the most neutral typing in the game. Normal, number 1. Number 2 is Dark. Those types win just because they have massive bulk. And there are 3. There are people... Okay, I think I missed one Pokemon, which is Greedent. Greedent is not on the list because it's only good now in Ultra League. Okay, I built one, but I haven't used it that much. But you could say the same about Vigoroth. But technically, Vigoroth is better than not just in OGL, Open Great League. It's good in Themed Cups as well, which make enough argument for this Pokemon to be built. This Pokemon is a must build. This Pokemon is the best budget Pokemon. Snorlax being one of the best safe swaps in the Master League Classic, and a solid Pokemon that can be used in the Master League Open. but it has to be Shadow. For both, you need the Shadow. Same for Ultra League, you need a Shadow Snorlax. It's good. It's a good Pokemon. And Licky Kong being the best safe swap in the current meta has been one of the most dominant safe swaps after Season 6, after we got level 50, technically. And now moving into the Fire typing. In the Fire typing, Fire is not as good of a typing, to be honest. Like, Skeletorage is good. Well, Skeletorage is good because it has Incinerate. So that's a point. I think we're missing Talonflame because I don't use Talonflame. And I think I have a Great League one and Ultra League. So technically, Talonflame should be mentioned here. And the best Fire Pokemon in the game right now is Ho-Oh, followed by Reshiram. Reshiram is decent in the Master League right now because it's the only dragon that doesn't take any super effective damage from Fairy's damage. Not just Fairy charge moves, because Fairy's stuff like Zacian and Xerneas both have close combat, they have Moonblast. So Reshiram is the only dragon that, no matter what charge moves they have, they don't hit Reshi with super effective damage. Charizard has been the most annoying Pokemon to deal with in the Open Great League and Open Ultra League the last 3 seasons. Now it's not as solid as it used to be after the Greninja Community Day, because it's just so risky to run this Pokemon. In the Grass category, I don't think I use more than Venusaur. I use whenever I need like grass damage for Master League, not Master League, sorry. In Raid, I use Mega Venusaur. I have a Hondo Virizion. It's still not justified for me to build another one. We know that Serperior is also a dominant Pokemon. It's worth mentioning. So if I have to talk about grass, it's literally Venusaur, the best grass that has been in the game, in Great League, in Ultra League, and Raid Attacker, because now we have a Mega Venusaur. Serperior worth mentioning as one of the best grass Pokemons in the Great League and viable option in the Ultra League. And now moving into the Fairy typing. In the Fairy typing, there are 4 Fairy Pokemons that are worth mentioning. Alolan Ninetale being the best Fairy Pokemon in the entire GBL, like in Open Great League and Open Ultra League as well. Some people used it actually in Master League Classic because Dragonite was the most common lead. Followed by Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini is not as oppressive as a Pokemon, but it's technically like water gives just like insane coverage to Fairy types. And Galarian Rapidash is one of the most dominant Pokemons in themed cups in the Great League. Stuff like, I think there was like the Willpower Cup. There was like 3 or 4 themed cups in the themed Great League cups, where Galarian Rapidash was like one of the most annoying ones to deal with. Stuff like, I think, Willpower Cup and Psychic Cup, and there is another cup. Because this Pokemon is like the Psychic typing that beats other Psychic types in the Open Great League and in the Open Ultra League. Xerneas being the most dominant Fairy type in the Master League. I don't have one, so that's why it's a small. It's supposed to be the best option because it's Fairy types generally are bad in Raid. So usually when you want to do super effective damage with Fairy, you can just use other types. I didn't have... Where's the flyers? I mean, the flyers, there is only one flyer, which is Pidgeot and Mega Pidgeot. So we're not going to talk about that. Bug typing, I did not max any bug typing. The same reason. Well, technically, the flying typing, it's only Pidgeot, right? You're just going to max a Pidgeot to level 50, use it on Ultra League, and then you can use it as a Mega for Raid Attacker. There is 2 situations where you use Pidgeot. It's basically Buzzwole raids and Virizion raids. So that's it. But for bugs, usually bug typing are good whenever you need to use the other typing. So stuff like Caesar is good because it has a steel subtyping. Scavalier is good because it has steel subtyping. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for watching. This is the end of the video, and this is my best Pokemons for 2023. The Pokemons I've used the most, and the Pokemons I've ended up powering up for the criterias I put on myself to power up any Pokemon. So if I missed any Pokemon, please feel free to share it in the comments below so I know what am I missing. I am actually interested to know what you guys think. What is your favorite Pokemon? What's your favorite typing? Stuff like this. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for watching. This is the end of the video. If you guys liked it, make sure to leave a like to the channel, subscribe, and see you in the next one. Peace.